Welcome to day 2 of Soul Alignment for your Work Life Blend. Today, we are diving into alignment and flow, and we're really talking about how to match as much as possible the way you spend your energy and your time with who you are, how you work best, and what you desire to create. For myself, from a very young age, I remember wanting a sense of purpose and just not really knowing what that might look like or what I wanted to do. And it was a constant source of frustration. And exercises like the ideal day exercise would sort of frustrate me because I felt like if I knew that, I'd already be working towards it. I really needed some different ways to look at things. And so that's what I want to give you today are some different ways to look at the question of what you want to create and how you might go about creating it. So let's start with this. What do you want to feel? I would say everything I teach is like a buffet. Take what looks good, leave what doesn't. But if you're getting stuck on knowing what you want, please do not skip this one. And even if you have a pretty solid vision already, this can actually help you tackle the how piece because it's giving you a different way to approach the problem. Sometimes we get stuck because we've never experienced the thing we're working toward or even seen it up close. So it just feels really out there. And when you start thinking in terms of feelings, hopefully that's giving you something much more recognizable that you can tap into. It can also help clarify how to get there because, for example, if you start looking at this and adventure jumps out at you as something you desire more of, your path is going to look very different than if safety is the desired feeling that speaks to you. This is one of the ways that you can figure out your aligned path where you can bring your best energy and get your best results because you're not distracted by the friction you experience when trying to do it someone else's way. Another thing to take a look at here is what kinds of changes do you need? And a lot of times this comes down to trying to discern, do I need to change or do I need to make a change? Or it could also just be, do I need some smaller changes here or do I need to make a really big, substantial change? I want to be clear about one thing. Flow doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't challenges. I mean, this is still life, but it means you're well matched to the majority of the challenges you face. You're equipped and empowered, and you're solving problems worth solving. When I was in my mid 20s, I experienced a huge disappointment in my career. I'd just taken a new position, and within a few days, they fired my boss, and the team was ramping up one of the biggest projects to ever come through the division, and it took a lot out of me, but I led the team through that tumultuous time successfully, and I was so proud of myself, and I really thought that hard work would pay off, but instead, they brought in a new boss who, to this day, one of the most toxic individuals I've ever met, and it's not even a story worth telling. But I'm bringing this up because one day, out of the blue, they moved us to a new boss. And even though I liked the new boss, I was still really committed to leaving. I just wanted to burn it all to the ground and start fresh. And at some point, I was waiting for some financial things to vest. And I wound up realizing my plan to leave was sort of a cop out. I'd just been so bitter. But as I let go of that, I found that there were amazing people and amazing moments and amazing experiences waiting to fill the void that I had once filled with my bitterness. And I remember thinking nothing about the situation had changed, that it was all perspective, and that amazed me, but it was only partially true. Something had changed, a lot had changed a while ago. I just hadn't been ready to embrace that change because I was so attached to my plan to leave. There was no version where my perspective could have made the toxic situation healthy or sustainable. But unfortunately, that idea that it's all about perspective settled in my brain. And for a long time, I basically gaslit myself into excusing bad behavior and finally recognized there is no hard and fast rule about whether I need to change my perspective or whether I need to make some external changes. It's all situational. The best tool for discernment I can give you here is mindfulness. Practicing presence and developing a meditation practice. These are some of the most effective ways to develop clarity around your next right step and access the wisdom that you need to take it. But for now, I actually want to get a little meta and look at how you're thinking about presence. So if you find yourself resisting being present and mindful through portions of your day, if the idea of being fully present feels painful, that might be telling you everything you need to know. Tuning into your reaction will give you a lot of internal feedback that you can use to discern what kinds of changes you need. Another piece to this is that many of us use mindfulness and meditation for stress relief. And unfortunately, that can lead us to use them to tolerate toxic situations that we shouldn't be tolerating. Practice radical honesty with yourself and peek below the surface to see what's going on. Again, you're not going to totally eliminate challenges, but when you're in alignment and experiencing the flow that comes with that, feeling present should generally feel good. And anywhere that feels impossible or where it's just a coping mechanism is probably pointing to somewhere you're out of alignment. I want to touch on a subset here where it's like not totally toxic, but something in you is telling you this isn't it. So a lot of times this looks like I love it, but. So maybe I love it, but I have to work with this one person who makes me miserable, or I love it, but I really need to make more money, or I love it, but there's no room for growth. The first thing I'm going to challenge you to do is name all of the things you love about it. I don't mean to be negative, but I think especially when we've been in a toxic situation, we sometimes label situations that are simply non toxic as loving it. And there can be a lot of fear about accidentally winding up in another toxic situation, and that can really cloud things. Or we can be in a job that was supposed to be our dream job, doing something that looks amazing on paper, and it's just not actually that great. So name what you love, and does it love you back? If there really is a lot to love, are there skills you can learn that will help you address the pain points? So remember, being in flow is largely about being equipped and empowered and solving problems worth solving. So if the problems are worth solving, but you're not feeling equipped or empowered, can you upskill yourself to feel better addressing them? This might look like communication skills or boundary setting or negotiation or selling or even tech skills. Can you balance out the parts you don't love? Remember, we're looking at energy, not just time. So, for example, if you have a job you love, but there's no room for growth, do you have energy for a side hustle that would give you room for growth? I actually started my first blog because I'd received a promotion at work that wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And I wanted that sense of growth I thought I would get at my job. If a side hustle is a firm no, could you reimagine your job? Are there responsibilities you could trade out or trade up? Is there enough trust there that you have reason to believe they'll compensate you if you're adding more value? I want to invite you to spend some time today journaling about what you want to feel more of in this coming year. For each feeling you identify, think about where you felt it in the past and how you can infuse more of that feeling as soon as possible. How can that feeling help inform your goals and how you pursue them? A couple more exercises that I really love. Who inspires you and why? I did this exercise a few years ago, and I remember being shocked to realize that nearly every person I admired was remarkably creative. I never realized creativity was important to me, and it wound up being a huge key in my own pursuit of clarity, flow, and alignment. Another kind of fun one, if you had to switch lives with a character from a novel or a movie for a full month, who would you choose and why? And again, this is just coming at it from another angle. See how it compares to your desired feelings and your list of real people you admire. Practice mindfulness and listen to your internal feedback and journal about what kinds of changes you need to make, whether internal or external, small or big. Use that self discovery to write about what your aligned life might look like. Sending you so much love today, and I will see you tomorrow.